out. My name is Stephanie Miles, and I'm doing public relations for the city of St. Louis. And this is a great event this afternoon, and we just want to make sure your ears are open and listen to the mayor and Mr. James Clark, who's Vice President of Community Outreach, for Better Family Life to have some great news for you. We understand this is going very fast. So the information was sent out just last week. So anyone who's not in attendance today, it's going to be incumbent upon us to share this with them as much and as widespread as possible. We want to thank you again, and at this time, I would like to introduce you to our mayor, Mayor Emeka Jackson Hicks, from the city of East St. Louis, Illinois.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Oh gosh, good morning again, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, you guys gave me a hearty good morning, so that means you're present. Grateful to be here this morning as I am. And how many of you are excited? Yeah, I am super excited about what is going on today. First of all, I just want to say welcome. Thank you for coming with us. Thank you for being here. And thank you for fellowshipping with us a little bit early on. Again, welcome. And we hope that this, as we move forward, that this is a new beginning. A new beginning. So, welcome again. We're grateful to connect with Mr. James Clark, Vice President of Community Outreach, Better Family Life, St. Louis, Missouri. This is a chance to share resources and bridge the Missouri and Illinois divide. Yeah. How about that?
Yeah. Right.
It's been long known throughout history that what happens on the west side affects what happens on the east side. And whatever happens on the east side impacts the west. Is that right?
That's right.
That's right. On Saturday, September 29th, Mr. Clark has arranged for us to have the unique opportunity to rid ourselves of eyesores within our community through a project called Clean Sweep. Clean Sweep. Yeah. We want to come to the city of East St. Louis. Better Life is partnering with the city of East St. Louis to do a clean sweep in one of our neighborhoods. And we're excited about that, right? Right. Super excited about that. Construction companies have already agreed to invest and donate millions of dollars in manpower and equipment. And we're excited about that. This is an opportunity for investment in the city of East St. Louis where we have not had the opportunity to do so, where maybe we don't have the funds. And this is a blessing to our community. A blessing to our community, so we're excited. I forgot to have prayer, so we're gonna ask everyone to please stand.
Yes.
Let's pray. Father, we're so thankful that you have allowed us to see yet another day. We thank you, dear God, for the opportunity to serve your people. We thank you, dear God, for supplying us with what it is that we need in order to clean up our city, not only to clean up the city, but to empower our citizens. Thank you, Father, for always being ahead of us, for leading, for guiding. Now be with us, Lord, as we continue in this meeting. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
So, construction companies have already agreed to invest millions of dollars for the demolition, for the cleaning, for cutting the trees, for the beautifying of a neighborhood in the city of East St. Louis, and we are just grateful. I know when Mr. Clark comes up, he's going to tell you how this started, where it all began, and so you will hear from him a little bit later on. This is an opportunity for us to come together, to work together, to build up our community, to move our city forward. We have for a long time been working to restore hope in the city of East St. Louis. Restoring hope. And through the work that we're doing, we are restoring hope in the city of East St. Louis. why do we have you here today, pastors? We have invited you because you can help us to clean up our city. And these are the ways that you can help. We need you to share information in the church bulletins about the Clean Sweep. Of course, we want to get as many volunteers as we can involved in this cleaning. We want all of our community partners to come out and be a part and to experience the movement, right? We would like you also to make announcements from the pulpit if you can, to get the people excited, to get the people geared up. You know, when the leader makes an announcement, the sheep follow, right? And then we would also like you to designate a person at the church who can coordinate and report to our recruitment liaison, okay? With that will be very helpful for us in gathering our volunteers, right? So, again, I just want to reiterate, sharing information in the church bulletins, making announcements from the pulpit, and designating a person at the church who can coordinate and recruit and work with our liaison with the city. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. James Clark. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Mayor Hicks. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
You all right?
Yes.
Great.
This is a very important day, and I want to give thanks and honor to God for continuing to see fit to use us to further His mission of changing lives and bringing His Spirit back. My name is James Clark. I serve as Vice President over Community Outreach for Better Family Life. For those who don't know, we're a nonprofit community development organization founded in 1983 on the core belief that the family is the single most important unit that makes up society. So at Better Family Life, we believe that we've got to be very intentional about building and maintaining strong families, not perfect families, no such thing as a perfect family, but we've got to put the family back into the center. Most of us can remember coming up and we had shows like My Three Sons, Father Knows Best, The Brady Bunch, Sanford and Son, The Jeffersons. Almost every show on television, The Partridge Family, was about family. Now we have shows called Lucifer,
My.
and we wonder why our society continues to sink. So we believe that we must bring family back into focus. Let me tell you just a little bit of how our CEO came up with the name Better Family Life. I thought that it just came to him because it rhymed and it sounded good. He spent 4 years in the Peace Corps in Mali. And in Mali, he was immersed in a family-focused society. When he went amongst the elite and the wealthy, the father related to the mother, and the mother related to the children according to their age, and the children related to each other according to their age. When he was amongst the poorest, with a dirt floor and leaves for the roof, the father related to the mother related to the children according to their age, and the children related to each other according to their age. So he was immersed in that for 4 years. When he came back to St. Louis, back to Harlem, he was like, we need a better family life in America.
Say that.
So that's where he came up with the name. It was a powerful revelation. Now, we're a nonprofit community development organization. We have several divisions: our housing division, our workforce division, our youth and clinical division, where we have Gerald Quincy Jones, that's a leader in that department. We also are involved in workforce, and I'm over community outreach. And in the community outreach division, we believe that we must begin to be very intentional on focusing on our neighborhoods. We must be very intentional on focusing on neighborhoods, reaching out to have a presence on the front porch, and then looking at how do we penetrate to the living room. We think that that's the next wave, that's the next paradigm, that's the next shift that social service organizations must be willing to take. That's the depth in which social service organizations must be prepared to dive. We have a flagship model called the Neighborhood Alliance, where we don't deal with large areas, we deal in very manageable, small swaths of land that we call a handprint. Most organizations call it a footprint, but we know a footprint means you're stepping on something. So we call our targeted areas a handprint, normally about a 4 to 6 block radius. We go door to door. I want to introduce Brother Joe Robinson, who was one of our outreach workers. They go door to door in these neighborhoods and they do an assessment to see what are the social service needs of everyone that lives in that household. We then bring the resources to the families. In our 8 targeted neighborhoods, crime is down, shootings are down, home invasions are down. Why? Because we're touching the people who are most likely to involve themselves in crime. Now, it was through the Neighborhood Alliance model that we started a very important program called Pulpit to Porches. We believe that we have to be very intentional in realigning neighborhoods and making the church a focal point once again. There was a time when I was coming up, everything that happened in the neighborhood evolved around the church. So we believe that we must be very intentional. So through the Pulpit to Porches program, we started involving churches in what's going on in the neighborhoods. One of the first things we did was we started having weekly meetings, Saturday morning meetings at the church.
Amen.
We met at a church and the resident said, Mr. Clark, we need to do a cleanup. And so we talked about it and they said, we need to do a cleanup, not just potato chip bags and bottles. Well, look at all these vacant buildings. Look at all these buildings that need to be boarded up. Look at all these alleys. Look at all these overgrown trees. We can't even see some of the buildings because of all of the trees and the weeds. So we took that information and we had a cleanup where we had equipment donated from a church in St. John. A couple of weeks later, another church meeting, the same thing came up. Mr. Clark, we saw that cleanup. We want to have a cleanup too. And so we said, okay, what kind of cleanup do you want to have? We want to have one just like you did in the other neighborhood. So I said, well, we got to give it a name. And in the church, they came up with the name Clean Sweep. So we did Clean Sweep, partnering with the city of St. Louis, where we had the housing division come out. We had the forestry division come out, and we did great work. We then caught the attention of a major construction company, and that's where Clean Sweep went from from about 20 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour. When a major construction company said, we're in, we have equipment that sits in our yard over the weekend that we believe we should be donating to tear down buildings and to cut down trees. So last year, Clean Sweep was officially born. We focused on 4 neighborhoods last year, tore down about 5 buildings, cut down about 60 trees, and really transformed neighborhoods. This year, Clean Sweep has doubled that. We've cut down, so far we have cut down over 50, we've torn down over 30 buildings, vacant, abandoned buildings. We've cut down over 100 trees and cleared over 100 miles of alleyways. So we're very proud of Clean Sweep. Now let me tell you how it came to East St. Louis. I was watching the news one day and I saw a pastor saying how his church was surrounded by vacant buildings. And I kind of looked at the report and it ended. And I was like, that didn't end with a solution. You know, the pastor said, I have all these vacant buildings around my church, and the reporter walked down the street with him, and reporting from East St. Louis, I'm such and such, KSDK News. I'm like, that didn't end right. It didn't, it registered with me, but it didn't connect to nothing. It was just in the back of my mind, right? I got a call from Bruce Holland, who Mayor will be here at 10:30. He's the CEO of Holland Construction Company. He called me on a Sunday. I'm riding down 40, and I see a 618 number. This is James. Hey, James, this is Bruce Holland. Hey, Mr. Holland, you don't get a call from a CEO on a Sunday. He said, Mr. Clark, I was hoping that I would get your voicemail. And he said, I'm interested in being a part of Clean Sweep, but we will not be able to participate in August. Would you consider extending it a month? And I said, well, Mr. Holland, we will consider extending it a month if you will consider doing it in East St. Louis, thinking about the pastor. And he said, we would prefer to do it in East St. Louis because we're an Illinois-based company. So that's how we looked at bringing Clean Sweep to East St. Louis, and we think that we're going to demonstrate, just as the mayor talked about earlier, there is a real issue that leadership on both sides of the river have ignored for far too long. We have allowed that narrow body of water to become such a dividing force. You go to any other major metropolitan area, the information on one side is shared, thought about, and planned with, for, and on by the other side of the river. That Mississippi River may as well be 200 miles wide, because there is no sharing of agenda, there is no sharing of problems. So we want to use Clean Sweep to demonstrate firmly that river can no longer divide us. We must begin to do things very intentional in a more unified fashion. You know, I have come to realize that the only thing that St. Louis and East St. Louis share is the weather forecast and the view of the arch. So we have got to become forward thinking. How do we begin? We begin with Clean Sweep, and we become very intentional on building the bridges and continuing to share programs and ideas. We believe that Clean Sweep will be able to spawn more businesses in East St. Louis. It can spawn more housing development in East St. Louis. We are very excited about this effort. One of the other programs that we are excited about is our gun violence de-escalation centers. We know that there is an issue in East St. Louis, just as it is in St. Louis, the issue of gun violence. We have been tackling it head on in the St. Louis metropolitan area through our gun violence de-escalation centers. Once again, very intentional. We work with churches in St. Louis that serve as gun violence de-escalation centers, where if an individual or a third party person knows of a conflict, they come in, we get all the information about the conflict, we work with the family of the two adversaries until we can de-escalate the conflict. I want to introduce Brother Carl Smith, Pastor Carl Smith, who's the lead mediator of our de-escalation centers. Brother Rod Jennings, who is also one of our mediators, and you met Brother Joe Robinson earlier. These men, along with Mr. Steve Thomas and Mrs. Joy Camp, the program coordinator, have successfully de-escalated 45 conflicts that had a trajectory towards or had already had an episode of gun violence. So we are very excited about the promise of this model. We have been fencing and we have been fishing it because we think that it is a very important model that should be considered for the citizens of the great city of East St. Louis. So very excited about Clean Sweep. We just want to plant the seed because we do believe that in the near future, we need to have some conversations about gun violence de-escalation centers as well. Okay, so if there are any questions or comments, I'm here. Any thoughts, ideas? We believe that we're only as successful as our last good idea. So if you have an idea, please feel free to put it on the table, okay? Questions or comments? Yes, ma'am.
What is the first targeted area that you're planning on this week? And will there be future endeavors?
We are going to lean heavily on the mayor and her staff for that. In St. Louis, we go to the hardest hit areas. We focus on areas that are open air drug markets. We are focused on areas where prostitution and crime have a major grip. We go to where life needs to be restored. So we go to the hardest hit areas. Now, I will tell you that St. Louis, most of our homes are brick. So where it takes probably about an hour to tear down a brick structure, most of the homes over here are frame. It takes less than 15 minutes to take down a frame structure. So we want to focus on an area that has a lot of frame houses that need to be torn down. Then there is some discussion about what is it going to take down the Clark Elementary School. So that's high on the mayor's priority list. Clark Middle. And so we've had some conversations with construction companies, knowing that will not be a one-day project, okay? But that's something that will have to be done, and they are interested as well. But we do know that the frame houses are going to be one of the primary targets.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
I'd like to make some general comments from our staff regarding the area, some of the areas.
Sure.
Maybe not specifically, but you give a general number and assessment of what's being.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity to sit with the meeting with you several weeks ago, find out about the program and how that works. We came back and met with city manager and the mayor and took a ride through the city and tried to identify an area that we can make a big difference for in the city. We selected, we drove around and we have identified, I hope you guys are ready to work, we identified 20 structures and 140 lots that need to be cleared. When we say 140 lots that need to be cleared, there's a lot of smaller trees. There's some big ones as well. So, you know, we're really, those alleys are in desperate need of care. So we have a lot of miles of alleys in that area that we'll be happy to work with you on. But that's what we've identified so far to make a big impact in the city. And we're close to schools, we're close to daycares. These areas are really in need of your service. So we appreciate what you're doing and look forward to continuing to cooperate, whatever we can do. As a company. We don't have tractors and equipment, but you know, we're happy to, this is what we do, so we're happy to continue doing that for you.
Thank you. One thing that James Clark mentioned was he saw a pastor on the news acknowledging that they wanted some areas clean, and just so happened one of our staff members, Angela Burridge, belongs to a church called New Life Community Church. And also, this pastor also baptized me some years ago. But Ann said, I think that was my pastor. And so God let us reach out to Pastor Kendall Granger, who is here today. And I would like for him to come up, if you will, sir, and just make some general comments about what was going on the day that you were on the news. I know you told me that we had a blackout during that time. And so I'll let you tell your story. And so this is how things work and how God can bring us together, and I believe the gap is being bridged.
Good morning.
Morning.
exactly what she was saying. Our church had scheduled a community cleanup, and that morning, well, that week, we had a major outage. And so we did our cleanup anyway. And when the news came out to film about the outage, I just mentioned that we were doing some cleanups and we got some more work to do and trying to get the generator hooked up so we can have service. But Saturday night service got canceled, but we did have the Sundays. And so we are 100% on board with the cleanup. We want to volunteer our location as a ground zero meeting place for people, for volunteers to come, and then we'll disperse wherever the mayor and the team says, but we'll be willing to do that. I'm willing to ask our staff. I have Brother Greg Witherspoon, who works full-time at our church, along with Eva Nichols, who works over our small groups and outreach ministries, to partner to make sure we get at least 200 or 300 of our volunteers that have some boots on the ground and be ready to roll. We also have our motto, or our focus is that we build strong families, and we start with the men and women and the children, and we have programs going on for that. And so we want to be very much involved in these other programs that you're talking about. Our Community Development Corporation, our Community Lifeline, we have some re-entry programs we're doing right now with young men, some literacy programs, we're doing some family classes, and so we definitely want to learn and get some more information on how we can bring some more resources to these families. What I've noticed and what I'm excited about is that when people know better, they do better. And when you give them a chance and you educate them on what they need to do, there are a lot of people in our community that's ready to change and ready to grow if the opportunities and resources are available. So we are here to do that. One other thing that's just, and this is, I hope I'm not taking us off the subject, but the thing that I really want us to focus on too, prior to the 29th, is that we can work together to identify which of those lots and buildings are owned by absentee landlords, and that we take photographs and we get those documented. And before we tear down and clean up, that we document and find those absentee landlords, put liens on those properties, and then make them beautiful again. Therefore, because there's a lot of people who live outside of East St. Louis that's holding down land. They pay their taxes, but that's all they do, and they just waiting on this cash cow to come through and cash in, and they can't do that in Fairview Heights and Belleville and O'Fallon, so they're not gonna be able to do it in East St. Louis. So I'm willing to put volunteers to work to help. I know because we're short-handed. To take those pictures we need to take, go to the city, go to the county and get those names and file those injunctions or whatever we need to do to make sure that we hold them accountable. And if they don't participate, we lien on those properties, and whenever they get ready to get their cash cow, they gotta pay East St. Louis a piece of that chain. Amen? And so that's just kind of on my heart. I want to clean up our community, but I also want to hold absentee landlords accountable. And those properties owned by the city and the county, of course, we want to take care of those. And then we want to help our senior citizens who can't do better, to help them get a jump start, and then they'll help us maintain. But those absentee landlords, they got to stop. So that's my soapbox, and I'm gonna let that go. But thank you for allowing me to have some words to say. God bless.
Thank you, Pastor Granger. One thing that we did not do, although we have a list of all of you who are present, if you will, we're gonna loosen you up real quickly. Just stand briefly, tell us who you are, who you represent, and what you plan to do to assist in this effort. How about that? Am I putting you on the spot? Okay, let's start over here. Yes, sir.
Go ahead. I'm Tom Williams. I'm from True Life Baptist Church. I'm the chairman of the Board of Trustees, and I'm representing Reverend Timothy Chambers. And we've been trying our best to do as much as we could, or can rather. And matter of fact, we are in line with this. It's similar but not quite the same. We're trying to clean up our area. And one of the things I enjoy hearing was the 15 minutes to knock down a frame house, because we got one over there with rats about this big. They walk around with bibs around their neck. And it's so bad now that they're carrying the bibs in their hand because they can't find nothing to eat. So I'm worried about them coming across the street to the church. And that's on 16th Street. And we really would like to be part of whatever you're putting together. Just let us know what we can do, because our congregation is a little older, but they got heart.
Yeah.
So we'd be more than happy to do whatever is necessary. And by the way, last word I'm gonna say is we have a garden, a community garden we just starting up. We're putting it together now, hopefully it'll be operational by next week. And the garden concept is whoever want food, whatever's grown out there does not belong to anyone. It belongs to the community.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get that done. We've already started to ride by on Tudor. You'll see us starting there.
Good morning. My name is Patricia Parker. I am representing myself. I am a resident of East St. Louis. I grew up here, moved away, came back, just recently moved into my parents' home after their death. And I was very interested in volunteering to do something. I was at the last town hall meeting and said just what Pastor Granger said about the homes. We need to be finding those people who have property that are paying their taxes but not taking care of the property. So I wanted to volunteer, and I did, and looks like I'm going to be the volunteer coordinator for this project. So we're moving forward, and I'm glad to see that.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Harold Laurie, and I'm here wearing multiple hats with the television station, East St. Louis television station, True Light Missionary Baptist Church, and the class of '79, and community organizations as well. My reason for being here is the assignment of my pastor, as well as the call from the mayor. Whatever the mayor is doing, we want to be a part of it. If it's cleaning up, pushing back, or whatever it is, we want to be a part of it. So on behalf of several of the community organizations here in the city, we are here in representation to do whatever is needed to be done. One last thing before I take my seat, that True Light Missionary Baptist Church was the church that was designated as the safety house during the race riots of 1917, and they was ringing the bell then, and they're still ringing the bell now, and they just ringing the bell on what needs to be done there. So Pastor really wanted you to know that he's willing to do whatever needs to be done to support your efforts. That's it.
My name is Ryan Young. I'm the pastor of Impact Church St. Louis, and we are in admin's office in Swansea, but we worship here in East St. Louis, and I'm from East St. Louis, love East St. Louis, represent East St. Louis wherever I go. And when I got the letter and read it and saw the initiative that you were doing and you all were putting together, it's just really simple for us. However we can help be hands and feet, let's do the work. It's really that simple for us. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Brian Mack. I'm the senior pastor at the Market Avenue Church of God. I'm fairly new to the area. God has called me down here to serve Him and lead this great congregation. We're just on board with everything that you're doing. And one of the things, when I accepted the call to come down here, I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago, and God called me down here to East St. Louis. And you wonder why God, but I know God has a plan. And I think one of the reasons why God called me here is for community and a sense of community. And we just want to be on board and want to be able to help. And any way we can, our congregation is ready to do whatever it takes to give back and help the community of East St. Louis. My pastor always said, you cannot give what you do not possess. And I think that we've taken ownership of what God has blessed us with in this great city, and we want to take ownership and be able to give back to our community all the things that it needs and have all the resources. So we just on board to help and be hands and feet as well to the vision and mission of East St. Louis of cleaning these communities up. Thank you.
she's representing Southern Mission, Baptist Church, and Market Avenue. So just want to overlook y'all.
Hi, everybody. My name is Shannon Anderson. I'm a program manager for Emerson Park Development. We're a small community organization that does education and job training for 16 to 24-year-olds. We've partnered with the mayor before on cleanup projects and beautification projects. I got about 20, 25 youth who are just waiting for an opportunity. So I'll arm them with gloves and trash bags, and we'll be there.
Hi, my name is Neva Nichols, and I'm from New Life Community Church. I'm very excited, and listening to you speak, Mr. Clark, because as my t-shirt says, we build strong families. And you spoke to a lot of information that my church believes in. And I don't know if my members, my pastor and Brother Greg, if they were laughing, but you said a word that I say all the time, and they always snicker at me when I say it. Intentional and deliberate. Intentional. So when you said that, I'm like, okay, I'm on board. I am so on board. And it is about building strong families, because without the families, without the foundation, we're nothing. And definitely encouraging our men to take more of a space. So if we can do Convoy Hope, this is nothing. If we can do what God allowed us to do with Convoy Hope, September 29th should be awesome.
Brother Greg Witherspoon with New Life Community Church, part of the staff here. As Pastor has already said, we're on board. We're on board.
That's it.
Good morning. I was already introduced. I'm Joe Roberts, Community Outreach Specialist for Better Family Life. And I represent the, I'm going to come here on the 29th of next month, this month, and represent the guys in East St. Louis with their hands down, their head to the back. I want to see a lot of those guys out here, and I'm going to choose them guys.
All right.
Good afternoon. Carl Smith, pastor of New Beginning Missionary Baptist Church, St. Louis, Missouri. First Vice President of the Clergy Coalition. Then I also work with at Better Family Life under Mr. James Clark over the Gun De-Escalation Center. Looking forward to seeing East St. Louis get empowered and get some of this taken care of. Amen.
My name is Rod Jennings. I'm one of the mediators in the St. Louis Metropolitan Gun Violence De-Escalation Center, as well as the community outreach worker. It's real simple for me. I know that these are our streets, our neighborhoods. We can't expect other people to take care of our problems. That's right. I was raised up with parents and elders who made us get out here and clean up. You know, nowadays our young people don't see the importance of not dropping litter. So I hope that we, like Joe said, we'll get a lot of the young folks out, the ones that people have forgotten about, that we're not mentoring, not holding accountable, and they work alongside with us, but they get a sense of ownership. Because we're going to have to turn these neighborhoods and streets over to them. So we got to show them how to keep it strong. So I'm glad all you guys are out here. Let's make an impact.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Chief Jason Black, Fire Department. I'm glad you guys are here, partnering with my mayor to make this a success. And the fire department will be here September 29th, along with other city leaders. And just get on board with East St. Louis and help make us great.
We have one more person. Yes, ma'am. She doesn't want to be introduced, but I met her. She goes through the police department. She's still in the same department. Yeah. I introduce you wrong.
Hello, my name is Latoya Clemens. I'm a administrative assistant to Jerry Simon, and I am in the police department, and we are here to help wherever we need to be.
Thank you. Or targeted for demolition, the process has started. So some of that information is already going on. Yes. Okay, so are there any other questions at this time? And Pastor Granger's wonderful wife Ivetta Granger has just come in. Thank you. Yes, sir. I'm going to bring the mayor back up at this time, but if you do have any questions, she will address them. Okay. Thank you.
Well, I'm excited. I'm even more excited now than I was when I first came up. We're about to rebuild our community as we rebuild relationships, as we restore hope. We're at the foundation, but you know, and I always talk about the foundation. The foundation is important, right? It may not be beautiful, right? But without the foundation, you can't build the house.
That's right.
So right now, we're building and we're tearing the foundation up and laying a new foundation, if you will.
Amen.
And once that foundation is set, then we can build and restore. So I'm just super excited for the partnership. I'm thankful for those who have come out and had the opportunity to do so, and those that I know that will be volunteering who were not able to make it this morning, but have already committed to working and partnering with the City of East St. Louis and Better Family Life. I just want to thank Mr. Clark for being obedient to his mission, you know, and just allowing himself to hear what it is that he needs to do on this side of the river, and allowing us to, you know, just be a part of that and be a part of bringing the region together. You know, East St. Louis is a part of this region. In order for this region to grow as it really needs to grow, East St. Louis has to grow. And I just want to also speak to the point of us taking care of us and using the resources that we already have in our community to do what we need to do to build us up, to build our businesses up, to build each other up. We have resources here, and we just need to use them and use them to the fullest. So again, I'm excited, I'm thankful. I just want to remind everyone that there will be a town hall meeting this evening at the New Life Community Church, 1919 State Street, East St. Louis, Illinois. The town hall meeting will begin at 6:30 p.m., but you're invited to come at 6 o'clock p.m. as we will have resource tables out and, you know, people for our citizens to intermingle with and get information from. Again, I hope to see you there. Hope to see your church members there, your families there, your friends there, and I look forward to sharing with each one of you what's going on in the city of East St. Louis. Mr. Drew.
I didn't introduce myself. My name is Drew Quincy Jones. I'm with Better Family Life. I coordinate our teen pregnancy and STD prevention program. I'm also with Clean Sweep, East St. Louis resident, and for the past 20 years, I've been the voice of the Flyers Athletic Program in St. Louis here. So my question is, what's the next step in terms of the pastors? Will we have a point person? Are they going to be meeting? How's the information going to be disseminated? I'm thinking about that today.
Absolutely. So we will have, the idea is to have a point person at each church. That point person will be in connection with our liaison, right? And as a matter of fact, we already have point persons at the churches volunteering to coordinate with the liaison that we have representing the city. I also want to speak to what the pastor talked about as far as making sure that we find and hold these absentee landowners responsible. When I first came into office, that was one of the things that I talked about, and I would tell you that probably about 90% of the property that's here in East St. Louis that's dilapidated is owned by absentee owners. What we have done now is taken our legislation, we have revised it. Currently, as we speak, a meeting was held today as we are preparing ourselves to have a court for code enforcement. We are interviewing judges and getting prepared so that we can put some teeth to our program and hold these absentee landowners responsible. It's been a long time coming. It has been a process as we have been cleaning up internally here in the city of East St. Louis, right here in this building, but here we are. and we're ready to hold these people accountable as we are holding ourselves accountable for the city of East St. Louis. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you, and I just know it's going to be a great day on September 29th. And I know that hope will be rekindled as it is being rekindled, and people will be empowered. You know, I'm excited, and again, thank you. Let us stand, and we're going to have closing prayer. I'm going to ask Ms. Miles if she would come forward and give us that closing prayer. Well, we got plenty of pastors in here. I'm sorry. Plenty.
Well, Pastor Granger, I'll just stand with you.
Let us pray. God, we thank you again for collaboration. We thank you for resources. We thank you for vision and for leaders. Ask that you would empower us and protect us as we go forth to do your will, build strong families, and restore our community. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Glory to God. Okay, let's think a little bit and talk about how we're going to do it.